Welcome back to Coach's Corner East. I'm at the Pizza Hut in Gallion. I'm your host, Mike Sparks. It's a Crestline portion of tonight's show. We're brought to you in part by Steve Kurtzman and Associates at Innovative Recycling, 352 South Street in Gallion. Candy Bolin at Bolin Realty, 2 blocks west of the Uptown Gallion Square. And John Cross at Cross Carpet and Custom Floors, 302 North Celtic Street, downtown Crestline. Crestline portion of tonight's show, Coach Tyler Sanders and the Crestline Bulldog basketball team, and so glad to have you out. 12-7 overall, 5-3 in the Mid-Buckeye Conference after a big win against Wynford last night. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. And then prior to that game last night, which was, where are we at here, 52-50. Yeah, so you're still averaging right around 50 points a game and giving up probably about 47, 48 a game. And it's pretty even, but the record is in your favor. That tells me you've played a lot of close games.
Yeah, I mean, that or we either win big or lose big.
There you go.
And I think that is a little bit. I mean, early in the season we dropped obviously to Colonel, who hasn't, pretty handedly, but we've had some games that we've won fairly big in the Bucyrus game, and so we've had our share of losses and our share of wins, but. Yeah, I mean, the group of seniors, they're going to find a way to win games more nights than not. And, last night was an example of that.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of going back a little bit in time on the 28th, you go to Mansfield Christian, always a special place for you because you played there and you knocked off the Flames. It's always hard to go back and play in the Inferno, I'm sure, in front of that crowd. But you win 56-47, you sweep them this year. That's got to be pretty gratifying for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always great to beat them. It's always great to beat the alma mater, especially when you look across the floor and see everybody cheering against you. So it makes it a little bit more sweeter. And,
do you hear cat calls from?
Oh, it's nonstop. Like student section, like kids I don't even know, like saying things. But I mean, it's fun. It's definitely fun when you come out on top over there.
Yeah, for sure. Then last Monday, you take on Bucyrus, a team that's kind of been up and down, and you really got after them. And I know their coach was extremely disappointed in their performance, but that's a credit to you and your kids. And you win 62-42. You led by 2 at half, and then you really blew it open in the third quarter, scoring 26 alone in that quarter. And I know we've talked over the weeks that three-point shooting percentage hasn't been very good, and it kind of seemed to thaw out a little bit, so to speak, hasn't it?
Yeah, we're starting to finally shoot the ball better. We still haven't chosen a game where we're going to shoot it well the whole game, but we had, the Seneca game where we hit 6 threes in the first half. We had the Bucyrus game where we hit a bunch of threes in the late. Last week against Northmore, we hit 5 threes in the fourth quarter, and then and only hit 1 the previous 3 quarters. And then last night we had 8 threes in the first half and none in the second. So we're just need to be a little more consistent and spread that out over the course of the game, and hit shots on both sides, and that's when I think that we can be really good.
You talked to Crawford County Now, and you said we seem to be a second half team. We're outscoring our opponents pretty handily in the second half this year, except for maybe last night. But you have been. You led 10-7 after the first quarter, and started the second quarter on an 11-0 run, and I'm sure that precipitated some timeouts for Bucyrus. And just in watching you guys last night, it seems like when your group gets some confidence and on a roll, it's hard to shut it down.
Yeah.
And I noticed that last night against Wynford. That seems like that's what happened against Bucyrus as well.
Yeah, and it did happen last night against Wynford, and that's where I got to it's so hard for me because I love to run. Like, it's fun seeing our kids run up and down the floor, get layups, kick it out, hit threes. But then on the flip side, you go up and down, you also give up points, and that I hate. Like, every time that ball goes in the hoop, I just get disgusted. So it doesn't matter how clean of a look it is from that, it just makes me angry. And so it's like, that's my struggle with running. So in some of those games, and credit to Wynford, they found a way to slow us down. But yeah, it's definitely a struggle between like scoring and also keeping it a lower scoring game where I feel like we usually come out on top.
Yeah, good point. After you went on that 11-0 run, you led 21-7 against Bucyrus, but they answered with their own 13-0 run. Conner Lusk, Lucas Cochran led the way with 14 points, Isaiah Perry with 11, R.J. Johnston 7, Trevor Shade and Josh Hall with 6 each, and Jake Bruce with 4. You talk about the Northmore game, a game that you probably like back, 52-46, and they're a good ball club, a really solid coach, a former Colonel Crawford player. I didn't really see any statistics on that game, but what happened in that one?
Yeah, I mean, it was a game, we just kind of played from behind a lot of that game. coming out of the third quarter, or in the third quarter, we were down 13 going into the fourth quarter. Actually clawed back, like I said, we hit 5 threes in the fourth quarter. We were up 1 with a minute and a half left. Gave up 2 offensive rebounds that they put back there late, and we just didn't execute. So yeah, no, we had played 5 or 6 games in like a 12-day stretch, and so I was feeling like dead legs could come upon us. I was proud of our guys for fighting back. I wasn't happy that we lost, but it was good to see the resilience out of the guys. And the gym was packed that night, and it was loud, and it was just really fun to see our crowd all standing up together as one. And it's something I haven't seen in the 4 years that I was here. So even though we lost, it was just kind of exciting for our kids to see like what they're bringing out from the town and getting people out there. And it's been a different atmosphere this last 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, great. And then last Friday, Winter Storm Landon shut everybody down. You were supposed to play Central Christian at home. That's now been postponed till a week from tomorrow. They'll come to your place. But last night, hosting Wynford, and it's a team that probably had your number for a number of years. You've beaten them 2 years in a row, going for 3, and you got it done. You led 20-16 after the first and stretched that to 33-21 at half, and it looked like you were going to run away with things. That's how I felt watching it. And as typical Wynford, they're going to hang in there, and they did. And they closed the gap on a 19-8 run, and you led by 1 after the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter was just, it was tournament-like for me, and watching it and kind of going back and forth. They had an opportunity to win. They didn't. And what was interesting to me, and I talked to you a little bit about it after the game, you're bringing the ball up with under 10 seconds to go, and I thought to myself, will he call timeout to get a set he wanted? And you chose not to. Why?
Yeah, I knew that question was coming, and I was actually thinking about it on the way over here, and it's kind of something that I think back all the time. I think sometimes as coaches, like especially with the group that I have now, I have a bunch of seniors, I think that we overcoach, and we think that we have this amazing play that is just going to be like perfectly drawn up, and we're going to get the wide open shot and hit it at the buzzer, when in all actuality, like, you got your guys out there that have been playing all day. They are wearing down their opponent. Just let them go out and just do what they've been doing, and just trust that your guys that, you got 5 seniors out there, 4 seniors and a junior with experience at the end of the game. Just go out there and trust that your guys are going to, put the ball in the hoop. And, there was a time there where I was getting close to calling a timeout, but Isaiah found Josh, and Josh stuck it in.
Yeah, and I think that has to probably go a long way in their mindset to say, well, he's not going to call a timeout. He must trust that we're going to be able to get it done, and we are going to get it done. It's a confidence thing. It goes both ways, I suspect. And it did work out. Josh Hall, who's here tonight, he hits a layup with, I don't know, I thought it was 2.5, but it was 3 point something. And
that was 7.
Yeah, they changed it to 7. The clock was over.
I asked your athletic director, Johnny King, who was on the clock last night, and I said, a little quick trigger finger there or whatever, or didn't get it shut down or whatever it was. But it worked out. Isaiah steals the pass, and you salt away the victory. And Isaiah, just a monster game, 21 points. Did you see that coming from him at some point?
I mean, no. After the Wednesday game against Northmore, he was pretty defeated, and it took some long conversations to get him into a place of wanting to battle back and rebound. And credit to him, he did that. I mean, he came out, helped Phil Yater to 9, face guarded him pretty much the whole night, other than when Brandon checked in to help out and scored. But back to, just real quick, back to the score clock and how it was. That's the loudest that gym I know has ever been since that school's been built.
I'll bet.
The last time I remember a gym being that loud was probably back when we were when I was at Mansfield Christian, and we lost to Ontario, who was number 2 in the state at the time, in overtime. That was the loudest. But last night it surpassed that. It was the loudest gym I've been. It was really fun to see. It was a really cool atmosphere.
Yeah, for sure, and I'm glad you mentioned that. We'll take a break here and talk to the young men around the table. We're brought to you in part by Terry Gribble and Associates at your Gowing Community Center, YMCA. Dr. Erica Schieber at Bucyrus Veterinary Service, 222 West Mary Street, Bucyrus. Rod Steiger and Associates at Pizza Hut Galleon in Bucyrus, host of our show since 1992. And Lou Ann Krebs at Rivers Edge Embroidery and Screen Printing, sponsor of our phone board t-shirts. Also, Don Barr and Associates at Galleon Building Loan Bank. Matt Studer at Spitzer Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and Kia, 1 mile east of the Richland Mall. Mark Osborne and Associates at E-Crane International, serving worldwide markets from the Galleon Industrial Park. First up, Conner Lusk, and Conner, congratulations on a nice win last night, and just a season that you're going to finish over 500 again.
Thank you.
Yeah, and tournament time looming. Because it was fresh in my mind and it was the most close game last night, how special was it to get 3 in a row over a team that has so much basketball success like Wynford?
It's great because I've been playing varsity ball for like 3 years now, and took a tough loss my sophomore year to them, and able to get 2 in a row kind of this year is really good.
Yeah, for sure. I was so impressed with not only you, but your fellow, well, really the whole team. And what I guess impressed me more was the physicality, but also the determination. You were on the floor, diving after balls, doing whatever it takes. The stuff that doesn't show up in the scorebook, but yet is so doggone important to the success of the team. Where did that mindset and that feeling that I got to do whatever it takes to get it done, where'd that come from?
I feel like I'm more of a grit and grind type of player if I have to be. If that's jumping on balls, loose balls, diving at people's legs for balls. But yeah, most of that's transferred over from football.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah.
I imagine so. Well, it got noticed by me for what it's worth, because that little stuff's the important stuff. That's what helps secure wins. Yeah, it's about putting the ball in the basket and defending so it doesn't, but when you're going after 50-50 balls and things like that, it sure as heck makes a difference. And I know it makes an impression on your coaching staff because they've mentioned it to me before.
Yeah, we're actually doing like diving drills like that, co-practice before, like diving for balls and saving them and stuff like that. So yeah.
Good. Well, you're sporting the Bengals cap, so I'm not going to ask you who you hope wins the Super Bowl. What's your prediction?
24-21.
Bengals?
Field goal by McPherson for the win.
Money McPherson.
And it'll be Cincinnati chili for everybody, right?
Heck yeah.
All right. Well, good luck in the rest of your regular season. And as we head into the tournament, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Josh Hall, the hero, so to speak, last night. Almost the GOAT. You missed a foul shot that would have helped.
That was on purpose.
And then you came back and redeemed yourself. And I want to talk to you specifically about the fact that Coach didn't call a timeout. Did you even look over there, or you weren't even thinking about that?
No, honestly, I just saw Isaiah bring the ball down the floor, and I saw him kind of travel. I was like, oh, he's got to get that out of his hands. I was like, all right. Well, I had the ball, and all night I couldn't score. And I was like, well, nobody else is going to do it right now. And if I knew Affiliator was there, I probably would have passed it to Conner in the corner, but I did some weird spin on my layup and it went in. So
yeah, was that a set play, or that was just you taking over and reacting as a senior?
Yeah, I just went in. I kind of lost track of the moment. I just knew we had to score, and so I just went for the basket.
Were you aware how much time you had
left?
Yeah. Okay, so you were fully aware of that.
Yeah, I knew somebody had to score. Somebody had to.
So you've strung some wins together, although you had a loss to Northmore, but the Mansfield Christian, Bucyrus now went for 3 out of the last 4. How is this propelling your team here in the stretch with just a few regular season games left, getting ready for the tournament?
I think it's just important for the confidence side. The guys that have been around varsity-wise for the last even 2 years have seen the sectionals we haven't always finished, and finishing games like last night is super important.
Yeah, for sure. Well, continued success, and I appreciate you coming on.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Next up, Brandon Hiles is here, and Brandon, we talked a lot during football, and one thing that you always talked about is the physical side of football. Yeah. And you're not asked to be a big-time scorer, but the things that I saw you do defensively last night, and the commitment that you had on that end of the floor, and the physicality that you played with without fouling, that's pretty doggone impressive, and that has to come from what instilled in you on the football field, right?
Yeah, I take pride on my defense.
You should, because it was really locked down and did what you had to do. And you've embraced that role, and you've accepted that role. And that's going to become vitally important as you get in the tournament, because we typically see tighter games, lower scoring, having to shut somebody down. You feel pretty good physically? You're in a good spot right now?
Yeah, I really do.
Okay. And as you're getting these wins, is your confidence growing as a player because of what this team's doing?
Yeah, my confidence is definitely growing with the team.
And Coach mentioned that was the loudest he's ever heard that gym. Was it for you too?
Oh, it was really loud. Northmore I thought was really loud, but then last night that was just a whole nother level.
And that's got to pump you up too as a player, and just so glad to be a part of that for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, I gave me goosebumps last night.
That's a good thing. And what, one more road game, and then the rest are
one on the way to
home. So you get to experience that because what's happening is the community and the schools start to believe now, and when you get that kind of support, that's a wonderful thing. So appreciate you coming out. Great job. I'm very, very impressed with your work ethic.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Spencer Harley, assistant coach down there, and I talked to Spencer last night. Said if you got tapped on the shoulder and put a uniform on, would you go in? And you were like, anytime you want, right?
Right, yeah, that'd be cool.
How fun is this as a former player now to see what the guys you've played with and the success they're having, and being a part of that and giving your insight, because not long ago you were part of that.
Right, yeah, no, it's really cool because, I mean, most of these guys I've grown up with. I mean, Josh was my next door neighbor my whole life. So, I mean, I've seen all these guys grow up, and it's pretty cool to see how far they've come from their sophomore year when I was a senior to now. And, the closest coach has been in high school, so I kind of know what they're going through with the whole senior year. Like, I'm trying to keep them engaged. Like, guys, this is it. You got to really enjoy it. So I put a lot of knocking on them. For that.
Yeah, well, you kind of lead me to my next question, and that was going into the tournament. It is just different than a regular season game because, as you know, when it's over, especially as a senior. Have you been talking to them in practice and saying, hey, listen, this is what you have to do. I've been through this, the wars. Have you been talking to them about that?
I've mentioned it to a couple of them that it's a completely different atmosphere out there. They know that. They've played in tournament games and stuff, but as a senior, I mean, it's different because you got your whole career's on the line every single game. So, I mean, you're playing to survive.
That's right. And I think they can listen to the older coaches, but when it's somebody that they can relate to, I think it probably takes on.
Yeah.
Is this team ready to go deep into the tournament, do you feel?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when we're hitting shots, I mean, the only people that can stop us is ourselves, really.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Enjoy the ride. And I know you've been very beneficial to this group, and I'm sure they're very, very glad to have you.
I hope so.
You bet. We'll take one final break here before we get ready to wrap things up on this Wednesday night. We're brought to you in part by Steve and Chuck Keller at Keller Auto Parts, your Napa dealer, Uptown Galleon and Crestline. Marie Mounts at the Platinum Insurance Agency, your Progressive agent, 131 Harding Way East, Uptown Galleon. And Joe Klein and Associates at the Galleon office of First Federal Bank of Ohio. Back at it with Coach Tyler Sanders and Coach. Friday, you take your last road trip and you go to Loudonville, a team that you beat back on January 7th, 53-40. Another opportunity to get a road win. You feel pretty good about going down there. Is that a tough place to play for your kids in the past, has it been?
Yeah, I don't know. We're probably pretty close to 500 down there. Yeah, it's a smaller floor, kind of similar to Mansfield Christian. It's just not real big. Mansfield Christian is probably a little bit wider. So it does slow us down a little bit from transitioning. It's kind of good from a defensive standpoint, but it is hard to transition there and kind of get out and run and get easy baskets. Yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult environment, but I think the boys, especially last night in the Northmore game, they've prepared themselves well for tough environments now, and those last games have really challenged us, so we should be okay going down there.
And then a week from Thursday, as I mentioned, Central Christian comes to your place, a team that, let's face it, you didn't play well down there at all, 45-22, back before Christmas. This is redemption time, and I'm sure all of your kids feel that way.
Yeah, I think the boys are going to be very, very fired up for that game. That was just a rough night. That was definitely the low point in our season, just right there around the break. When I say there's no possible way that we could have played worse, we could have never possibly played any worse than that. I mean, it was a rough night, and the boys know that. And luckily, they did a good job of putting that in the rearview mirror pretty quickly.
Yep. And then next Saturday, you finish up the regular season with a really challenging Galleon team who's playing well, putting up a lot of points. Cooper Kent puts up 30 last night against Bucyrus. That'll be a tough one. But it should be a great environment. Neighboring schools. You talk about a loud gym. That should be for sure, and a good way to finish up before your tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it being our crosstown rival, that last game of the year. It's always senior night for us. It's always senior night for them. And the boys have had some pretty decent success against them the last couple of years, so I'm sure they're going to keep it up. But yeah, they're playing better. They're playing fast, shooting a lot of threes, making a lot of shots. So I'm going to guess it'll probably be another night of a tournament-like atmosphere.
And speaking of tournament, you had your draw last Sunday, and you chose to play Norwalk St. Paul. You were the 5th seed, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were the 5th seed. Norwalk St. Paul in the sectional semi. That'll be Tuesday the 22nd at Crestview High School, 5:30. Flyers currently 4 and 14 overall, 3 and 8 in the Firelands Conference. And if you should get that, you take on a really challenging Monroeville team, a team that you actually scrimmaged not too long ago. That would be on Friday the 25th, again at Crestview at 5:30. They're currently 15 and 3, now 16 and 3. They won last night, and 10 and 2 in the Firelands Conference. So back-to-back Firelands Conference teams, and I would think you would match up pretty well against both of them.
Yeah, I think we do. St. Paul. I'm sure our kids are aching to get back out there and give them hopefully a good taste of it after last year.
And no Winslow brothers.
Yes, and no Winslow brothers or what's his name that hit Adelman hit the 3 against us at the buzzer. And so I'm sure the kids are going to be excited about that. And then, we scrimmaged Monroeville. We battled with them this summer. We got pretty chippy and both times, and to the point where we had to kind of calm both teams down. So that is going to be as long as we take care of business against Norwalk St. Paul, that will be a really fun atmosphere for that sectional final.
Good, and if you can get by the sectional, district semi would be Tuesday, March 1st at 7:30 at Willard against the New London Buckeye Central winner, who's also taking on Margaretta. That winner would take on Margaretta. On paper, one would argue it's probably Margaretta that would come out of that, a tough draw out of the SBC, but remains to be seen. We'll take care of business first. You got some regular season games to go, and then we'll see how things go against St. Paul. Plans right now are to have you back on the 23rd to talk about a sectional semi win over St. Paul and preparation for Monroeville for the sectional final. So that's the plan.
That sounds great.
Well, guys, thanks for coming out tonight. Congratulations. Continue the good success, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, Mike.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
You bet. Show's brought to you, or let you know that tonight we've got Ohio State men's basketball going on right now on WQEL. They're taking on Rutgers from Piscataway, New Jersey. Tomorrow we have Ohio State women's basketball taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Coverage beginning at 6:45. Friday night we have a doubleheader of boys basketball on WQEL. It'll be Mohawk at Colonel Crawford, and on WBCO, Bucyrus at Buckeye Central. Both of those games approximately at 7:30. And then we'll be in for the Friday night phone board at approximately 9 p.m. Saturday, we have high school girls basketball at 1 o'clock. It'll be Wynford at Buckeye Central in the season finale. That game will be on WQEL. And then 7:30 on WQEL Saturday night, it'll be Upper Sandusky at Shelby. And Will Beard will be in for the final Saturday phone board of the season. Thank you to everybody here at the Giant Pizza Hut, especially our managers Bree, Michelle, and Jordan. Thank you to Ian, our server tonight, Danny Lane back in the studio for keeping me on the air, and Cameron Moon and Harper Boggs for all their on-site help. I want to thank Colonel Crawford swim coaches Shelley Ashley and Jen Price and their team, and Crestline boys basketball coach Tyler Sanders and his team for being part of the show tonight. Thank you to our sponsors, and most of all of you tuning in on Facebook Live. For WQEL Sports, this has been Mike Sparks reminding you, spirit with a vision is a dream with a mission. Have a good night, everybody.